Hey, y'all. Merry Christmas and welcome to the Authentic Online Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Ruthie Gray, and I just said goodbye to a chapter. Dun, dun, dun. Have you ever felt a nudge you ignored because it felt too hard? My nudge began 6 months ago. It rolled around in my mind like my grandson's forgotten basketball in the back of my trunk. God brought me to this, and I almost ignored it. If you're toying with a decision that feels too hard, let me offer you something that will bring peace. Stop. Halt everything. Get off the hamster wheel of doing. Just because that's what you do doesn't mean you have to keep doing it. If you're an empty nest, you know we ain't got as much time as we once had. So ask yourself this question. What is my top goal, the thing I most want to accomplish in the next 5 years? What would it look like to do that thing? And what do you need to quit in order to do it? If you're feeling the nudge to make a pivot or quit something in order to do something else, and you're wondering if now is the time, or maybe you're afraid to take the plunge, today's episode is for you. Listen in.
Welcome to Authentic Online Marketing with Ruthie Gray. Growing awareness for your blog, podcast, book, or product involves more than dancing to reels and yelling, "Buy my thing." This show models quality over clamor so you can put your spin on your message and market in a way that feels authentic to you, because nobody wants to sound like an infomercial. And now, here's your host, Ruthie Gray.
The book 10X is Easier Than 2X is one of my very favorite business books. Author Dan Sullivan explains the concept of doing less to achieve more. And it's not that you're doing less, like watching more Netflix or scrolling your phone. It's zeroing in on your main calling and perfecting that calling. And that process involves quitting. He says most people are afraid to commit fully to the 10X process because it inevitably requires letting go of your current identity, circumstances, and comfort zone. Sound familiar? Going 10X means you're going to do one thing and one thing well. Going for an incremental progress is 2X. That's a 2X mindset. And remember, the book is called 10X is Easier Than 2X. Going 2X at a fundamental level means you're continuing or maintaining what you're already doing. You're letting the past dictate what you do and how you do it. 2X is linear, meaning you're striving to double your output by doubling effort. Do more of the same, just faster and harder. This is not sustainable, my friend. Over the past year, I've become good at quitting. I chuckle because I almost get more joy from saying no than I do from saying yes, when it's a juicy opportunity especially. I'm getting pretty good at this, y'all, because no brings peace and time. Time to think on what needs to happen, not what you're trying to make happen. Sometimes the answer is right in front of your face, but you don't see it until you step back and process. And that timing is on God. I think empty nest women just really need help making decisions, just like I do. And I get help to make my decisions, and I'll explain that more in a little bit. Last week, I made an announcement on Instagram that I was quitting. Not Instagram, not the platform. That's still my platform of choice, but I'm quitting coaching people how to do Instagram. And since that announcement, I've heard from followers and friends almost daily, you are blazing the trail for us and continue to show us how to do this. And, oh, this is going to be so good. I've earned their trust, and they want to know how to 10X. They want to know how to pivot. So how do you know when to lay something down? I'm going to give you 5 steps here. Number 1, lots of prayer and scripture. Do not skip. This is pretty much self-explanatory, and you get to determine when you meet with the Lord every day. But you're not going to be clear about your calling and the steps to take next unless you meet with your Creator daily in prayer and searching His love letter to you. Number 2, wise sounding boards. Do not skip. Who do you trust that you can mull this over with? Do you have a friend? Do you have a mastermind or a coach? I have all 3. And my coach in particular really helped me to come to this next step. Number 3, journaling or typing to process. Do not skip. Maybe you don't like to write. I've said it many times. I've said it in my book. I said it in the last podcast episode on goal setting and planning, episode 114. The tactile practice of writing out your thoughts literally helps you to process that and think of the next things to do. Maybe not that very day, maybe not the next day, but over time, if you devote time to that, you will figure it out. Number 4, if it has been niggling at your gut for 6 to 9 months, it's time to trust your gut. As I said, I've been thinking about this for 6 months, but it really started 9 months ago when I sensed a shift in my joy. It started me on a journey to try and figure out what it was God wanted me to do next with joy. If you've read my book, Empty Nest Awakening, you know that the tagline is weaving the threads of your passions into purpose. When God calls you to something, He's calling you to someone, and He's not going to call you to something that doesn't bring you joy. He plants your desires. And there is a reason that you have the niggling. So trust your gut if it's been 6 to 9 months. Number 5, take the step. Just take it and see how it feels. Likely, you're going to have a flooding of peace. When I say take the step, I mean make it public. Do not skip. Once you take that step, you're going to feel so light. Scripture says the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and He delights in His steps. After struggling and searching all year for my footing, I 10X'd November. I accomplished more breakthroughs and covered more ground than all the months combined or any amount of work done in a single month. I base that on the total actions accomplished, whether personal or work-related, and the big decisions that I was previously afraid to make. I won't share all of my 10X decisions and accomplishments for November because some of them are personal, but here are a few. I announced a move away from Instagram coaching. I decided to rebrand and rename this podcast and build a new website. I attended a retreat called the Christian Communicators Collective in Myrtle Beach, highly recommend, and received instead of giving or promoting myself and my business. There, I received 2 major personal breakthroughs. And listener, personal breakthroughs are just as important as creative or work-related breakthroughs because they are intertwined. We'll talk about that more later. I secured a venue for our September Empty Nest Entrepreneur Retreat. I let go most monthly duties to serve my family and home and celebrate birthdays and early Christmas. This means I did not do 10 Black Friday emails. I did not promote anything on Black Friday, and I have done that for the last 5 years. It felt great. And lastly, I found and committed to a writer mastermind. This is where I'm going in 2025. I'm pursuing writing and traditional publishing. I feel at peace and free. God is calling me to my purpose, peace, joy, and wisdom to minister to others. I want to be wise like Daniel and help guide people. Did you know that Daniel was instrumental in helping King Cyrus make the laws and decrees for bringing the Israelites back to Jerusalem and rebuilding? He was excellent and full of wisdom. Read Daniel. You'll be blessed. Dan Sullivan says we need to get good at moving toward chosen goals, even when it's emotionally difficult. You acknowledge and accept your emotions, but they don't control you. Becoming more psychologically flexible enables you to expand and grow emotionally and to live a more committed and congruent life, even when it's hard. My 2-year-old grandson processes his emotions verbally better than any 2-year-old I've ever met in my life. It's hard, he says. Frustrated, he says. Change is hard. Sometimes it feels like we're quitting or not carrying out our God calling. But here's the thing to ask yourself. Are you quitting on God? Are you still walking with Him and seeking Him? If so, you're on the right track. If not, it's time to check yourself before you wreck yourself, as my 8-year-old granddaughter says. Grandkids can be very wise. I don't fully have all the answers, but what I do know is I'm building a new website and rebranding. For those of you who have been with me for years, don't worry, the teal color is never going away. Since I've shared my pivot, I've heard from several women who are transitioning too. They've felt that niggling for quite some time and know their ministry was for the current phase, but not the next. And here's the thing about laying something down. It leaves room for someone else to pick it up. Don't hold your baby tightly in your fist. Just like letting our kids leave home, we must learn to let go in life. Do you wish you could have some input on your goals? If you would like to connect with a group of like-minded empty nest entrepreneurs and creatives, our next retreat is in the mountains of West Virginia in 2025, September 18th through 21st. Get coaching and input in a group setting and get clear on what your next steps should be. Here's what retreat alumnus Sue Donaldson said about her 100-day goals. I finished my book the Saturday before Thanksgiving. I would not have if I'd not had your coaching and accountability from the retreat. 22 chapters completed. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you have a goal in mind, but you just keep spinning your wheels, you need help determining how to get there. Sign up for the wait list for the West Virginia retreat. We're going to stay on the beautiful campus of Appalachian Bible College, where I graduated from, where I used to go to camp. We're going to stay in the lodge, and we have room for 20 women. Sign up today so that you can be in the know for when to secure your spot. If you think about it, life is all about goodbyes. Goodbyes are hard. My husband just left for a week-long hunting trip to Texas. Now, I like my space, but I don't like him gone that long. As I climbed the steps to my bedroom that first dark winter night, having locked the doors, set the house alarm, and turned off exactly 3 sets of outdoor Christmas lights, 2 Christmas trees, and a handful of battery-operated candles, I thought of my mom next door in her apartment, all alone, carrying on life after saying goodbye to Dad. My heart goes out to her as she does all these tasks each night. Goodbyes often contain grief, but also, in most cases, goodbyes leave room for peace, joy, and growth. God readies us for goodbyes by giving us signs. My dad's goodbye sign showed up 10 years prior to his heavenly promotion, after emergency surgery and a subsequent accident that almost took his life, resulting in rapid decline in mental and physical health. I signed medical power of attorney and became his healthcare advocate and caregiving overseer. I had glimpses of my former dad, the man I had always known, but he never fully became the same again. When he passed, the goodbye was hard, but it was time. I know I'll see my dad in heaven, fully restored to health, his sense of humor intact, and he'll be better off than my current 60 years. Dad was 69 when these signs began, which puts another point into perspective, and that is this. We never know how long we have. I mentioned that I just turned 60. I've always wanted to write and publish books, and I have started, but I've always wanted to pursue the traditional route. So if not now, when? 2 ex-entrepreneurs think they need to get all their ducks in a row before they can start taking more time off. Research shows that women ages 50 to 80 are in their most productive years. That means I have 20 more to publish books. There's one more thing we must remember when considering a change, and that is our families. My family comes first. If I don't have time for my husband, kids, or grandkids, then I'm as a sounding gong or a clanging cymbal. I recently took a quiz walking me through my next steps, and one of the questions was, what are you unwilling to give up? When I honestly answered, it was time with family and writing and publishing books. That was telling. It meant I was willing to give up authentic online marketing in its current phase, which is teaching and coaching Instagram and email marketing. For the first time in 5 years, Authentic Online Marketing School won't open its doors come January. Dan Sullivan says tightly scheduled entrepreneurs cannot transform themselves. Friends, this podcast will change, but don't worry. All 4 years of episodes will still be there, and we have many with timeless applications for marketing, both email, Instagram, and beyond. So go binge and learn. But our focus will change from strictly marketing to a broader empty nest focus. But something I've learned over the years of coaching and working with women like me is we can't separate our real lives from our work because they're intertwined. At our retreat in September, we talked about life issues almost as much as work issues because that's just who we are and we can relate. We are moms of adults learning how to not tick them off and keep the lines of communication open. It's kind of a dance. We're used to, we told them what to do. Now we're not doing that anymore. We can't do that and grow a good, thriving relationship. We are Gigi's forging relationships with our grandkids and yet also creating boundaries so that we don't become full-time babysitters. We are mother-in-laws, daughter-in-laws, wives, confidants, and caregivers. How do we do all these multi-generational relationships? It's tricky, and it's called life. We only have one precious life, and after 50, it's likely we've lived over half of it. So how do we balance what we love, our God-given purpose and passions, the things that fill us with joy, alongside our also God-given calling of serving our families well and showing them Jesus? Planning, goal setting, decision making, and book publishing, those are our top listened to episodes, which shows that we've kind of moved away already from so much of a marketing emphasis. And these topics tie in exactly with where we're going. We're not leaving, we're just evolving into more authenticity than we ever have had before. Our podcast name will change. You can feel free to send suggestions, but right now I'm leaning towards simply Authentic with Ruthie Gray. I would love to hear from you on topics you want to hear about in 2025 and guests you'd like to hear from. Nothing is off the table as we finalize our content and build the new website. Personally, I'd like to have Sophie Hudson back since she's the one who inspired me to blog in the first place, and her guest episode was our most downloaded of all time. Merry Christmas to you, dear listener. This is our last episode on the Authentic Online Marketing Podcast in its current form, and we made it thus far because of you. I am so grateful for your downloads, shares, ratings and reviews, and support these past 4 years. Your Instagram messages and newsletter replies kept me going even when I wanted to quit. We will be back next year with a brand new format, so don't go anywhere. Just please do this one thing. Hit up my Instagram inbox at Ruthie_Gray_author and let me know what you'd like to hear in 2025. I'll be taking polls all month. I'm here for you. Let's do this. Lastly, let me leave you with this thought if you are considering a pivot or quitting or laying something down, or maybe it's just, how do I do all of this, and what is there that I could possibly let go of? Here's the thought. What the caterpillar calls the end of the world, the master calls a butterfly. Until next time, be sure to share your message, your way, in your own authentic voice.